or crazy tech cards. He just thinks or has been approaching the game a little bit differently.
It's just more about finding a way to bring Galakron Warlock. That's what it is.
Yeah. Just Galakron rotates out for some reason. He's like, I think I'm still going to submit it. It's like, without Galakron. It's like, what? I'm sure they'll find a way. Yeah, we are going to see the Demon Hunter versus Mage. I think we just had a slight technical snafu there as Bozzzton obviously disappeared on camera. So we are just making sure everything's good on his end. We don't want to have to obviously start a game and then have it be paused or whatever. So we're just making sure those players are ready. But it does sound like, at least to me, that they are getting into their game. But just a reminder, the loser is going to be done for the weekend. They don't get relegated, of course. We're still in the playoffs, so they are safe for another season. But it does mean their chances of going to the World Championship this year are gone. But let's get into it, Sottle at last. Seiko on that Mage on the bottom, and Bozzzton on this Demon Hunter.
That's interesting. Right away, I was going to raise that as a question. I've been making the point that, we keep saying, well, a lot of this tech that you have for Bomb Warrior carries over against Demon Hunter as well. But I've said on multiple occasions, like, I think having a 2-mana 3/2 or a 5-mana 4/4 in your deck can actually be actively bad against Demon Hunter on some occasions, because the way you beat them more often than not with a lot of decks is just curving out very aggressively and sticking a board and beating them up, right? And those cards really don't allow you to do that. And straight away, you see Seiko not valuing the weapon destruction super highly, or at least highly enough to keep Sticky Finger in his opening hand against Demon Hunter.
It's also just the way Demon Hunter weapons work, right? Aldraki Warblades can be equipped and swung twice before you even get to do that, in some circumstances, right, of course. And then, of course, Marrow Slice is great, but there's no Corsair Cache in Demon Hunter, so there's not an even more likelihood that they're going to be able to draw it, right? Because they're effectively running 4 weapons that you can steal to an extent.
Sure.
So yeah, a little bit less consistent, especially the Sticky Fingers, of course. Bozzzton's hand, though, is shaping up pretty nicely. He is not going to mana feed a Panthera on curve. Just tick that one. Put that little mark onto the play for the draw and not for the minion.
Yo, did you see how many times it happened in APAC today? It was like every single game. They were just tempo 2-3ing. Yeah, it was crazy.
I saw a lot of things in APAC today, Sottle.
Yes!
A lot of the things I wish I could unsee, actually, but,
Many of those things have scarred us for life.
Yeah. And clearly all these mana feeder Pantheras were played in parts where I had to just simply look away from the screen.
Yeah.
But here, though, the hand is coming together for Bozzzton. I was trying to work out whether he wants to put a damage into this lab partner. I would not hate it.
I actually really like it. And just ships it face.
Tough, right? Because there's also half an assumption that he's just going to cane into it next turn anyway.
Yes, but you also have to continue that assumption with your opponent gets to play other cards on this turn, so you might end up caning into something else that they played this turn, and then you actually have the minions on board to potentially clean up the lab partner as well.
No, I agree. I think I actually would have put the damage in if I was, if it was me there, just because you have 2 minions that can potentially do it as well, right?
Yeah.
But here's the Evo.
Alright, not great. It's going to be a really awful Cyclone hand by the time he's done with it, but probably still superior to the other minions that he had available.
He's going to utilize this Frostbolt to potentially protect the Apprentice, or more likely, at worst, or best, I guess, for Seiko, make Bozzzton hero power into it along with this 1/3 would be, I guess, the best case outcome.
Yes.
But this is a bit of a problem now, isn't it? Suddenly, Cane Trade does not look too cool because that leaves 2 lab partners on the board.
Does. Cram Session was already used, though, so there is that.
Demons?
I mean, step number 1, you have to kill the Apprentice. You just have to.
Hide behind your servants. I will still
It is just simply mandatory to kill the Sorcerer's Apprentice this turn.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think if there was a Blade Dance there, I would have definitely just gone Twin Slice, Blade Dance, go. Well,
oh, baby. Tavern up, discover a 5. Let's go. Oh, misplay. Now, how are you going to get a little rag now? You just played a giant elemental. Think of all the stats you've just... Sorry, that's next week. It's next week. Sorry. I was preparing early.
I'm glad I read that was next week. I thought Masters Tour was next week. I was getting ready. Honestly, I would, unless someone mentioned it the other day, I would have turned up ready to cast. And everyone would be like, Raven, why are you casting a Battlegrounds event? Try.
Yeah, make sure tune in next week to the first party competitive debut of Battlegrounds. Now that we have the competitive lobby system in place, should be a lot of fun.
I wasn't invited, but yeah, okay. Make sure to turn up to Masters Tour the week after, where I am invited and I am casting.
There's to get into casting Battlegrounds. There's one of those like fairground signs that has an MMR number printed on it, and you must be at least that high to ride.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me know what that number is. I'll get it tomorrow.
Okay.
Bozzzton here. He's limited in these options, isn't he? Nothing quite adds up yet again.
Time grows short. I grow impatient.
What if he just lapidaries and goes face?
I mean, it's not the worst. No, it is the worst idea I've ever heard, but it's a situation that kind of requires some of the worst ideas that I've ever heard.
Everything else looks horrible, doesn't it? Like,
yes.
what are the other options? They don't exist. And now, Cone of Cold, Mana Giant. Okay. 2 pairs, that's good for Battlegrounds, right?
You're just going to donkey roll for that triple, yeah, sure.
Still think it's the right play.
Cone of Cold just does 3. Like, it's fairly effective AoE here, even.
The real question is, since it does 3, would Seiko ever trade the 1/3s in to clear the board? I don't think so, right?
I don't think so either, no. Yeah, the 4th minion just gives him that little bit of Blade Dance protection, which is just, you know, kind of nice here, I guess. So you just, Cone of Cold, just push the damage. I think it's pretty strong. How do you respond to this from Bozzzton? Like, you're just going to keep taking 8. Little does he know that his situation is going to get worse on the following turn, because there's even more cheap Mana Giants that are going to hit the board, but he has to be concerned about the solitary 8/8 right now.
Yeah. It's really... the fact that this Giant is just not going to die is such a nightmare. Now there's backup of this other Giant. There's a Cobalt Steel if he wants to go for that instead. Although, again, looks a little bit clunky. It does just kill off the Lapidary, which seems fine. Put a 4/4 on the board, kill the Lapidary with the weapon swing. Instead, he could go Giant Ping and get the Astromancer down as well. With the trade,
yeah, it's close. Because Giant Solarian Ping does still leave basically all of his threats vulnerable to Blade Dance while leaving a weapon up, which is a little bit scary, I suppose. So I think, you know, on the surface, this still threatens lethal, and you destroy the weapon, you shut down a bunch of healing, which actually helps you to threaten lethal, and you still have that backup of a Mana Giant if you're able to pick up Conjurer's Calling or something a little bit later on.
Yeah, I really like just the disarm mindset. Because the question you ask is, can my board be Blade Danced? Question number 1 is always, well, right, do they have a weapon equipped? Because that makes all the difference. And he really does. Seiko's going to take game number 1. Just disarming the Demon Hunter. And right now, I have to say, at least in this series, Sottle, the tech choice as opposed to lineup way of beating these weapon decks seems to be paying off, at least for Seiko in game number 1.
Yeah, tough to say, right? He beat a Demon Hunter with, I think, what over time we're starting to have to accept is a fine matchup from the Mage side. Even if the ladder stats say otherwise, I think we're reaching the point now where, you know, the higher level of play, which we should have on average in Grandmasters, combined with the size of the sample size that we are putting together now, seems to show that Mage does just fine in that matchup. So if your matchup's just fine and you have the weapon destruction in there anyway, that should be a decent matchup against Demon Hunter, and yeah, sure, you won it. But on the other side of that coin, Yala, who had the hard counter Bomb Warrior strategy, did the same thing against Blaze. He just beat up Demon Hunter a whole bunch of times. So, hard to come down definitively on one side or the other. So far, Seiko has one losing series under his belt with this strategy against Tice. So he is very much on the comeback trail right now. But Bozzzton, of course, has had the difficult route to get here, having to go in through Division B and through the play-in game to even get to this point. So he only has a solitary life to play with, which I think from his perspective means that he felt like he had to play it a little bit safer with his lineup and perhaps just fell into a little bit of predictability from Seiko's perspective.
Yeah, there's still a chance though for Bozzzton, because this isn't a hard counter. It does mean he has got a way to win with that warrior when it comes, or if it comes to it, should I say. It does mean that Seiko is leading 1-0. We are going to go to a very quick break while we set up our game number 2. So don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back with some more Hearthstone Grandmasters.
I don't know any, I think.
What do you call an old snowman? Water.
You know the German knock-knock joke? Knock knock. Who's there? We will ask the questions.
No, I'm not a joke guy.
What is curved, yellow, but not a banana? Secretly a banana.
There's only one joke I can think of. Yeah, TJ, what was first? The egg or the chicken?
Chicken.
Chuck Norris.
What is this, 2008? Yes.
Welcome back, everyone, to European Hearthstone Grandmasters. We are in our match number 3 of the day, which is a lower bracket match from Group A. We're playing through to its end today. And it is Bozzzton versus Seiko. Seiko getting a win there with Mage versus Demon Hunter. The sticky fingers helping out, but the general powerful plays leading up to that point definitely having a huge impact. And it does mean he has Rogue and Demon Hunter of his own left to go up against Bozzzton's lineup, and I think most importantly to go against Bozzzton's warrior, which is going to be a bit of a tricky one for him. So Bozzzton deciding to leave that one till last, instead going for the secret rogue that looks awfully similar once again to the list we've been seeing from Switz for the past couple of weeks.
Indeed, yeah, that Faceless Corruptor tech, which did interest me. I did try it out for a bit because I think I said this on broadcast maybe a week or two ago, but it just seemed like every time Swids played that card, it did something very, very impressive whenever he was playing the deck. I will say that over the 20 or so games that I tried with it on ladder, I became less and less impressed with it, but it was still like, it was a fine card. Like, I didn't end up hating it. It was kind of on par with some of the other options that you do sometimes have in that slot. I do think Secret Rogue is a deck that struggles to find what the last 2 to 4 cards can be, because we've seen people flirt with Eviscerate and dropping like the Vendetta package in its entirety, and then you lose the Dragon Hordes as well, for example. So I think there are still a few floating card slots in the deck which are available. Jandis, in this case, Faceless Corruptor, Flick potentially coming in there as well. It does seem, much like we've had the debate with the Tempo Mage, right, about what those last 4 cards are. It does seem like most of the list is nailed down, but there's a few mediocre spots that still need to be rounded out.
Yeah, and here we are going to see a pretty good opening curve here for Bozzzton. Whichever way he wants to go around it, at least can just start with a Feral Cat and then go from there. Because one thing that is pretty difficult, at least from my end, I think, for Demon Hunter, is to deal with the Hana turns. Because you don't often have a wide board. You don't often have like multiple attacks or throwaway spells to throw into these, like random secrets. That it can get pretty difficult to try and pick it apart. At least in my experience.
Raven, can I shock you? I don't like spending my mana this turn. Are you okay?
Oh, the Soul Shear?
The Soul Shear, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, right, yeah, okay. I'm less shocked because I would have also just made the play Seiko just made.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks odd because it's just a clean kill. But you have so many more high value targets. Soul Shear plus Hero Power kills a Hana, for example.
Yes, I think very crucially, Coin, Questing Adventurer, Shadow Step your 1-drop, which is like the dream opening curve there for the Rogue. That leaves a 4/4 Questing at the end of the turn, which you then have Soul Shear plus Hero Power on the following turn, which I think is a really key interaction to look out for. But yes, in this case, you can see that just even Tempo Hana would be checked if that's an option that Bozzzton wants to go for.
Also going to keep it simple here. Just going to go for a dagger, not trying to do anything too crazy. It doesn't also want to play a minion just into this jailer to just die anyway, so I do like this, taking a little bit slow. He can utilize the dagger to actually gain control of the board next turn as well.
No swing that turn. Seiko not overly concerned with the amount of weapon charges he has right now.
Mirror Image being the pickup for Bozzzton can be quite annoying for Seiko. Like I said, outside of exactly Shard Shatter, you don't really have ways of dealing with super wide little boards that Rogue builds. And it's not like he wants to be swinging weapons into these mirror images either.
Maybe.
Very awkward hand. I do respect Seiko's holding of the weapon charges here, because a lot of the early game in this matchup is usually occupied by the Rogue playing small minions like you're seeing here, Wand Thieves, Cult Neophytes if they're in the list, all that kind of thing. So just having the ability to just pick one of those off every turn and just not letting the board state spiral out of control, especially when you don't have a Shard Shatter Mystic in your hand, as you were just talking about. I definitely do respect that hold of the weapon. But it does mean his hand is just getting a little bit congested. Like, he could have chosen to go full aggro plan there if he wanted to. Swung face last turn, swung face this turn again, and just played Marrow Slicer this turn and set up from there. But he is playing a little bit of a slower line, and I think he is probably wise to right now, because at that time, he didn't even have the Blade Dance in his hand to be functioning as AoE for the small minions.
And with the Blade Dance now, I think it is acceptable for him to have a swing, because it does mean that he has ways to deal with these potential boards for the next couple of turns anyway. I do wonder, though, this is just Coin Jandis here for Bozzzton.
Yep.
What makes
Love it.
Pretty strong, doesn't it?
Nice. Scrap Golem huge in this matchup, of course. Pretty much the dream minion for combating Demon Hunter.
Bozzzton taking his time with the decision here, maybe trying to play with Seiko's mindset on what he wants to make weak. We'll find out very quickly that there's no shard chatter, though. Because this is the board you play it on.
Yep. Seiko finds himself in trouble right now. Really no way to be addressing this board state.
Yeah, I think he just has to commit to the twin slice hero power.
Yeah, I think so too.
Just get it gone. You have skull next turn. Just get this out of the way, right? I think that's the plan.
Yep. It's why I
And
think it was a real decision as well from Bozzzton on the previous turn as to where the illusion was going to go.
Yeah, if you assume it's going to get the weapon's going to get built up to kill this, why not put it on the 4/5, right? If it requires like a true strike.
Not enough time. You're fast. You're fast. I'm faster.
Yep, it's a little bit of an ugly turn for Seiko. Used a lot of resources, but like I said, I think this has been a nod from all of his plays leading up until this point is he has skull. There's no need to try and go super crazy aggro or try and save a load of resources. If you have one of the best resource cards in the game right now, just sat in your hand ready and waiting for turn 6.
So many options.
It's not a bad Hanar plagiarize here, giving the expectation of what your Demon Hunter opponent wants to do.
It's not. It just feels... maybe we're spoiled, subtle, or maybe we just see it a lot. Well, I do think playing Hanar Secret initially with only 5 mana almost requires a Shadow Step nowadays, and I think that's just because what we see the most. But it does make me worry that only getting one little secret rotation isn't going to be enough.
I think it's fine. I think 5 is like the first number where it normally feels pretty good because you can hit either Redemption or Noble Sacrifice off the first cycle, right, to actually protect your Hanar and have it stick around for a second turn. I think it can be pretty strong.
Arguably even Never Surrender, right? Depending on how the removal, goes.
The Brotherhood shall come.
Wasn't just going to go for the big Van Cleef, and after seeing the Blade Dance, and now there is no weapon equipped, but I feel confident that that guy's going to stick around. And then he has the Hanar Secret Stunner turn to protect him as well. It's very strong.
Does indeed. Seiko does not play a natural copy of Consume Magic in his deck. So it looks very much like he is going to be setting up to try and counter-race this.
Pretty good reductions there, actually.
This Neophyte is going to end up being incredibly clutch against Bozzzton's hand specifically. Whether Seiko wants to try and pair it together with a swing turn later on, though, like I could certainly see that being someone's thinking here.
It's funny, right? The Neophyte looks good, but you think that the Neophyte could have been a Consume Magic if we're going to play that game.
Sure.
It would have been looked even better.
Yeah.
Not enough time. Maybe.
Yeah, I really like just playing it here, but I don't know how influenced I am by just being able to see the hand from Bozzzton. Seiko ends up agreeing, though. Much more difficult decision for him to make than it was for me. Yo, prep. Nutty.
What do you think about just mirror image backstab here?
So many options.
Get the dagger equipped. Bozzzton just says to Seiko, okay, you win this round, but I now have taunts, and I still have an 8/8 hitting you in the face.
What happens if you do use prep this turn? Nothing particularly good, right?
I don't think so, no.
You could Hanar, prep, plagiarize, and then still play a Paladin Secret. I think that's correct. But yeah, not that impressive a turn when you can't fit in the backstab as well then at that point.
Yeah, I think I like just keeping this simple. Have an even bigger turn next turn with prep and secrets and stuff, right?
Yes.
Like, why not? Just kill the 3/2, put some taunts on the board, go face for 8. That sounds like a pretty good turn for me. Just gonna play a secret, his only secret with a Hanar just in his hand. Bounce the 3/2. This, I don't even know where to start, and I'm not even saying it's wrong or anything. I didn't even consider this as a line of play.
Right. I mean, so things it does, it protects the Edwin from the source of damage, but the backstab does that anyway, right?
Right.
By the way, drawing soul fragments, absolutely criminal on that turn there for Seiko, but he did then pick up the spirit jailer off the top, which kind of counteracted the whole thing. It's a pretty big deal. But he does still have secret passage in his hand as well, does Bozzzton. So it's not like he's just drained of secrets. He has a decent chance of being able to find another one if he needs to go Hanar secret passage at some point in the near future. But I'm just not necessarily sure what the plagiarize straight up achieves. I guess because he's dealing with a discounted skull turn, he felt like the plagiarize could end up being pretty powerful there.
You could assume that he might be seeing the either weapon plus twin slice or twin slices in blade dance. But for me, taunts, clear the board, equip a weapon, and have an incredibly powerful turn the turn after seemed fine.
Right. He is going to get rewarded here, though, to an extent. Spirit Jailer Sociologist combination.
Can't play it, though. His isn't reduced.
Yeah, that's fair.
And now this turn just looks way harder than it should have been.
Well, does it? I mean, like, I don't think the play Bozzzton made really changed how disgusting this turn was from Seiko with the discounted Sociologist.
Mirror Image would have made this turn a little bit harder for Seiko, I think.
Sure. I mean, Bozzzton would have had an 8-8, and Seiko would just have a bunch of additional 3-3s.
True.
The situation is similar.
Oh, he would have flicked the 3-3s.
He would have
away.
flicked the 3-3s.
He would have won.
Yeah.
Oh, rolling fireball. Too bad. He's going to go for it. Just clear up all the big threats. This board just leaves up the jailer.
Yep. Very nice. Do you think Bozzzton, or Seiko rather, has to get rolling with some damage now that he's kind of got this free turn to operate in?
Yeah. Yeah, this definitely looks like some kind of neophyte. Get the Marrow Slicer equipped, play that Chaos Strike, start punching Bozzzton in the face.
Yeah. The problem that you do run into, though, is that you know you can't really stick small minions here because Bozzzton always has that response loaded up from this turn with the Spirit Jailer Sociologist combo.
Well, Blade Dance pick up pretty solid, actually. Does mean that there is an answer to the Militia turn. If the 3-3s are even alive at the end of that Militia turn, obviously it depends on what Seiko does. But anyway, having a Blade Dance in hand whilst you have a Marrow Slicer is always a positive.
Enough time. Muzzle their magic.
The weapon steal's pretty interesting here. Less because it steals a weapon, and more because it puts a 4-4 on the board.
Yeah, I like
actually
it.
Quite resilient to the Militia turn.
Right. It's kind of similar to going Marrow Slicer since you just load that 4 damage up with the 4-4, but also, like, you don't really want to do it the other way around, right? Like, you don't want to have a Marrow Slicer equipped and a Sticky Finger in your hand if you can avoid it, so I kind of like doing it this way around, just getting the Sticky Finger dealt with.
They're not trapped. They're my friends.
Pathetic. Put some soul into it.
Just gonna take the 2 trades and leave the 4-4 up.
Now the damage is going to start ramping up. Seiko's side has a really clean-looking Blade Dance turn now. Ooh. Options,
I
though.
still like the Blade Dance.
You don't pick the ones.
Can keep the Sticky Fingers healthy. Only requires a hero power, which is fine. He has the mana to, gets to push 5.
Yep.
Looks clean to me.
Bozzzton wincing already, he knows, yep. And there is the reaction as he sees Blade Dance number 2 get ripped.
Okay, so now Bozzzton under a lot of pressure, but surely he has a good turn now, right? Look at his hand.
Give me a quest.
Go questing and they're gonna go one thief. Still has prep available as well if he needs it. Get lackeys going as well.
Finds the secret to replace the one that he lost earlier for the Hanar train.
Yeah, a little bit more expensive, but still not a huge problem because he does have that prep as well if he wants to do it this turn.
Yep.
Whoa. Okay.
Rush Lackey is pretty insane here.
Choose soon.
What about like prep, secret, image, rush lackey on the foot of 1/4 to trade with the 2/2?
I want this 4/4 dead.
Okay. The problem is it's like it reduces the health down on the question a lot, right?
It does.
Which is a little bit scary.
But the 4/4 reduces the health down a lot on your face. I think that might just be more important here.
Yeah, with the soul, with the shard chatter. But remember, if that was the other way, you would have had 2 mirror images as well, which would have created some level of safety. Of course, shard chatter would have thrown that all away.
Right.
Now with soul share to pick off this question, pretty big deal.
It is, but he just saw Mirror Entity did not go off when he played the minion. So he now has to be fearful of Counterspell and Spellbender.
Yeah, a little bit awkward though, because the Netherwing's now going to punish him for playing the shard chatter first. Not that I think it was particularly incorrect. It's just the order he chose to investigate these secrets.
Well, now I think...
Oh!
Yeah, now I think this is incorrect. Because obviously you didn't want to play Demon Companion before you were going to Shard Shatter, but if you were going to Twin Slice anyway, I don't think there's any reason
I agree.
to not Twin Slice first.
Yeah, I thought he was holding the Twin Slice, which is why I didn't mention it initially. But yeah. I mean, he does have to kill that, right?
Nah.
Okay. I guess the benefit is if you're afraid of any further rogue secrets, it's not like Varga can cast them twice.
Right.
And that's normally the spell you're most afraid of against rogue.
Right.
That's fair.
So, yeah, what actual spells in the deck are you scared of Vargoth actually hitting you with, right? There are none. It just so happens that Mirror Image is the card that we're staring at, which is obviously terrifying.
Yeah, it's also just the stats on the minion are pretty horrible, right?
Yeah.
Because it allows him to just keep cleaning up the few minions that you even have on board. It's going to be a bit rough here, but one benefit is because Bozzzton's choosing to build a bit of a board himself, maybe the mirror images don't get to duplicate that many times.
So many options.
Just dagger down this Kolek.
Choose soon.
I imagine he's going to trade the Archmage in, right? Like, does he want ever this 3 damage to potentially hit him in the face, even through the images?
I don't think so. Wow, he does actually push
Besides,
the
it's
2
worth
here.
2. At 27, I'm not sure if that 2 health makes a difference. Oh, it's insane. It's both good and bad. He needs more cards to pair with this to actually win the game.
He does, yes.
If he doesn't play it now, he misses 3 damage.
Exactly. I think he does have to play it now because it sets up his 1 Gladebound Adept off the top to end the game. If he doesn't push that 3, then that's not a realistic outcome. So I think it's absolutely correct to do it here. He now at least has outs, which he wouldn't have had the other way around. So yeah, I like it. I think this is the correct decision from Seiko.
I never lie, but I never tell the truth.
I think there's I don't think there's a secret in the game that stops Hero Power Gladebound lethal here, though. Never Surrender does seem decent. Just in case the health on those taunts ends up being relevant.
Choose soon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, prep, yeah. Means you can take a 2-mana secret and play it here if you really wanted to, though. Crucially, Seiko still has a lot of time, though. He knows what the Mage secret is. Can't play that. You hold. You try and find a different spell next turn to break the counter spell so that you can then Chaos Strike into Gladebound still. Yep.
Oh, don't know how I was muted then, but that seemed to be. But yeah, as I was saying, as you guys might not have heard me, this actually blocks the repeat secrets, as obviously you can only have so many, and also you can't duplicate counterspell.
This one coming all the way down to the wire, though. The only remaining out in the deck that straight up kills Bozzzton is the one Gladebound Adept, but there is one Skull that can draw it. And Seiko does just have so much time here. Like, the aggression on the other side is just not really being presented.
Bozzzton can't even really do anything with like the stunner or anything else, right? He doesn't have any minion generation. Like, if he had a Pharaoh Cat, I'd actually suggest just stunnering a Pharaoh Cat and getting to replay it just to try and get another minion.
Right.
To help with the race.
Right.
At this point, does he just eviscerate a 0-2 to play more minion? I mean, not right now, obviously, but it's kind of weird, right?
Okay,
Vargas
it's out.
just
It's everything.
telling
It's the
Psycho- Oh,
Gladebound!
he gets it!
It's the
He
Gladebound off
actually
the top for
gets it!
Seiko! Insane!
Oh, wow. I mean, he played to it, and he got rewarded. Absolutely
Get sniped,
huge.
idiot!
Doesn't care. He's done his job. Psycho's taken the game. 2-0 now, going up against Bozzzton. And again, what would he have been safe? He would have, right? If he traded into the 3-2 with the Vargas.
Yes.
And that's a big deal because with your opponent at 27 and you only really having, 4-5 damage per turn, 2 versus your opponent having a minion on board, to me at least didn't seem worth it. And it definitely didn't seem worth it when we can see how it paid off because Psycho's 1 out was only given to him there because the 3-2 got to attack him with the Cane as well. That was huge. It was such a big deal.
First off, completely agree with you. I'm only arguing for the sake of it. But the problem that Bozzzton had there towards the end as well is that he had no ability to cut down the amount of turns that Seiko had to find the out, which obviously you do potentially cut down that turn timer if you push damage wherever it's available.
Right.
However, in that situation, because the outs weren't that well crystallized at that point, they would have to be a sequence of cards, and Kane was one of them, and you could cut away that out specifically. I do personally favor trading there in that position. I completely agree. But I just want to give a shout out to Psycho's play throughout that, which I think was beautiful. He recognized he had to play the Cane on the turn he drew it because that set up the out for him. He recognized he had to hold the Chaos Strike on the turn he drew it because that set up the out for him. So not only he could use the Chaos Strike to then break Counterspell and even cast Skull and still find lethal on that turn with the way that he had it set up. And then he was rewarded with the Gladebound Adept at the end. Like, that's the kind of Hearthstone that I miss in this metagame, where everyone's just playing with the cards that are in their deck and you can actually calculate outs. You can just calculate what the right or wrong play is just based on what the cards in everyone's deck are. Like, that's just good Hearthstone. I want to see some more of that, and I think it was a very well-played game from Seiko overall.
Yeah, what few people realized when Demon Hunter was released last expansion, everyone thought, oh, this is broken. This is overpowered. Now, who's crying about it? Like, we need Demon Hunter back. We need it even more. We are seeing it more, at least in European Grandmasters. But now, going to be Rogue here for Seiko. Bozzzton.
Well,
now we get to the hard matchup. You could argue.
Well, thanks for coming, Bozzzton. It's been fun.
Hey, look. One Blade Storm and he's fine. What are you talking about?
It's very true, yeah. He is playing one of the decks that does not instantly concede to the giant Edwin.
He's also playing against a Rogue with double sticky finger in the list, though, so...
You just coin the Fireheart?
Wait,
I
why?
guess
Do you not want to coin out the Stunner next turn?
Yeah. You can coin Stunner, I guess, if you want to do it that way. I was just trying to do something like disgusting with Instructor, Fireheart, and Shadow Step and Edwin Van Cleef and just put it all together, but it just ends up getting way too expensive. I know, I know.
Like
Forgive
a
me.
million Van Cleef is
Raven-
not enough for you.
Raven, I don't often get to indulge the part of my brain that wants to do fun things as opposed to just the best thing. So just allow me the one time that I wanted to have a look at doing something incredibly stupid.
Don't let the door hit
If you ever feel the need, let me coach you in Hearthstone, and you'll get to do all of the fun things. We won't win a game, but you get to do the fun things.
Yep.
Shadow Step. Gonna go for the
Don't
Cleef.
let the door hit you.
I wonder how big he's gonna go here.
This is it. You stop here, I think, because the now, like in real terms, the Instructor Fireheart plus Prep combo is just incredibly strong because you just like maximize your opportunity to be able to play the spell you discover off the Fireheart because you have Prep to be able to discount it.
This turn would require a couple of outs here. Lord Baroth Shield Slam or Shield Slam Blade Storm exactly to clean this up. And guess what? Bozzzton does not have those, and it's only going to go downhill from here.
That's correct. He does have the Brawl, though.
What if he backstabs this 1-2 and plays Fireheart?
Sinister Strike is free, I guess. So I'll rip it.
Would you not want the ambush, though?
Well, I'm thinking if you take Sinister Strike and play it here, you can then take a spell and prep it off the recycle because you'll get offered another set of cards, right? So
It's
I think
tough, though, because he does have Hanar in his hand.
Right, that's true. But this is kind of like Hanar in itself, in that like you take the Paladin Secret just because it always recycles and gives you another option at the end. Cold Blood? I mean...
Yes! Bring back the Cold Blood days.
Yeah, you just prep the Cold Blood, right? Yeah.
On the 1-2, so it's just another awkward target.
Yep. Is Vendetta playable? No, it's not. Wow, I've never had that interaction before. You could technically cheat Fireheart with Rogue, right? Because it offers you Vendetta, because it technically costs more than 1, but then actually in your hand it could end up costing 0. That's sick. I've never thought of that before.
Well, if the Van Cleef lives, it doesn't. But there is the Cold Blood Stunner making up some damage at least. Bozzzton all the way down to 9 so early in the game, and there's still a little bit more damage where that came from.
Insane draw off the top. Obviously, that doesn't look as impactful as some of the things that we've seen this game, but believe me, it is. Just the ability to have an ability to have a clean turn here and load up again with the Evil Miscreant is so insane.
Doesn't look as impactful as some of the things. All of the things it did look as impactful as. But still, this is a problem. Bozzzton barely got away with last turn. And he has to do it all over again.
He can't kill the 5-2 even with the... rephrase. He can kill the 5-2 with the Risky Skipper Armorsmith play if he then drops Upgrade after the fact as well. But not in any meaningful way that he would actually want to.
If he had one of the cheaper Pirate... If he just had a Sky Raider...
Yep.
Or a second Armorsmith. Oh, I think if he had a second Armorsmith, we could start talking about this game.
Oh, I think if he had a second Armorsmith, he would be ahead by quite some distance here.
What now?
He has to do it, right?
I must choose.
Oh. He's going to place an armor up.
Treasure?
Loot? What more can I ask for?
Whoa. It's at 6. Seiko has 5.
Yeah. 1 damage required. Can you even get it from Secret Passage? Does it have actually sources of damage here?
Not naturally, no. It would have to be something into something, second miscreant into damage lackey or something, but I think that would end up just being too expensive with the deadly poison that he needs to play.
Okay, going for Secret Passage initially. I was surprised. I thought...
Cobalt Sticky Finger!
Oh my. Never. You know what? My analysis, my opinions, they just don't matter. As Seiko just Secret Passages straight into the Sticky Finger, shuffles a bomb in, puts his opponent down, and next turn he has the deadly poison with the weapon. Absolutely huge. I thought he was going to go for a bone. Never mind! What is going
Stop
on?
talking, Raven! Whatever you were saying, it doesn't matter! Round of applause! That's all you can do! It's disgusting from Bozzzton's perspective, but at least he can do it with a smile on his face, because that was about as brutal one-sider beating as we've seen since the last time Seiko did it, when we were talking about the exact same thing. Seiko, the efficient, ruthless killing machine, just absolutely tearing his opponent apart. That was about as clinical a game of Rogue versus Warrior as you will ever see.
That game just did not want me to have opinions about anything because I did not get to speak. It was very harsh. It was mean, but fair enough, Seiko. You won 3-0 there. Pretty impressive feat, and Seiko lives to fight another day. And by another day, I mean shortly, as we still have a match coming up. He's going to be facing now not a rematch, similar to what we saw yesterday in Group B.
Right.
He's going to be facing RDU. So RDU does get his second chance now, but Seiko... for him, everything, for both these players even, it's all on the line for this next match.
Yeah, shot at redemption for RDU's unconventional lineup with the Highlander Rogue, but just a opportunity for the rubber match, really, to break the tie for Seiko's